Okay. So, uh, how is the situation at the in the capital?
Right now, the situation in Uganda is stable, though yeah, in the time of campaign, they are campaigning for presidential position.
Mm-hmm.
So we are expecting election early next year.
Okay.
So yeah, things are a bit stable here. People are moving, business are operating as usual.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So, you have been a refugee for how long?
I've been a refugee for the last 12 years now.
Okay,
So
12
I came in
years.
Uganda since 2008.
Okay. And so as a refugee and living in Uganda, um, let's see, for the children of the refugee families, can they go to school?
Children of refugee families, it's true, some families are really struggling to put their children to school uh, because of the low income that they experience on a daily basis. So, Uganda, here I'm talking about refugees living in urban setting because there are two different categories of refugees. There are those that are urban based, and we have refugees that stay in the settlements.
Okay.
So refugees that are in urban, as you know, life in the urban setting is always a bit high compared to those that are in the rural areas. So schools as well are very, very expensive when it comes to Kampala here.
Okay.
But Uganda has a system that they call UPE, UP Universal Universal Primary Education.
Mm-hmm.
Under this, they call Universal Primary Education. They say that children can go to these schools free of charge. Now there are some minor, requirements that each parent is supposed to meet for a child to continue with the studies. These schools, such as scholastic materials, um, and you know, at times transport. Uh, so at times this scholastic material, including the transport, goes to 150 or 200,000 Uganda shilling, which I may compute roughly to 70 USDs or
Okay.
75 around there.
It,
So you find that if a parent isn't having an income, a stable income, still they fail to maintain their children in these schools.
okay. So when you say 75 US dollars, is that per month?
Per term,
Sorry.
per term, in a period
Oh,
of
per
3 months.
term, per term. Okay. So
Yeah.
basically is about half the year, right?
A year has 3 terms.
Oh, three terms. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, not a quarter.
Not a quarter,
It's
three, yeah, three terms.
yeah.
So it's about like 240 roughly
I,
per
yes.
year.
Yeah.
And which is a big amount of money, right, for people, for the refugees.
Exactly, it is because most urban refugees, the majority of them live on hand to mouth, where they have to go out every morning to do hawking business, where they do sell necklaces
Mm,
along the street for them to be able to earn an income. So at times they sell a day 10,000 or 15,000,
mm,
which they have to make sure that this money they are able to provide food for their children, and then probably save a little money for their studies, which makes a number of the children really to stay at home and not to study, because parents aren't having stable employment opportunities.
okay. So even though the education is supposedly to be free, but the parent still has to pay like $75 per term, right?
Yeah, exactly, because they have the scholastic material.
Right.
That's the parents' responsibility.
Okay. And you talked about settlement before. Do you mean uh refugee camp?
Yeah, exactly. In Uganda now, we don't have refugee camps. They call them settlements.
Okay.
Why? Why? Because settlements is a setting where refugees are given a portion of land where they can dig, they can build a small house, and they live there as long as they are refugees. The land is not theirs, it's a government land, but as long as they live in that particular settlement, no one can remove them from that particular land where they put them.
I see.
So, which is different from a camp with just where you come and then there are tents that either the UNHCR tents that are built, and then you are all forced to live in those tents.
I see. And now, based on your experience, is that better? The settlement is settlement better than a camp?
Basing on my experience personally, I had intervention in a settlement before, though I've never been a settlement refugee. But back in 2016, 2017, we've been implementing some project in the refugee settlements. So in settlements, people are really close. They are exposed to limited opportunities
Mm,
compared to the cities. So where the dependency syndrome is too much at that side, because they only depend on the donations from UNHCR and to cover their monthly expenses when it comes to food, because they receive food on a monthly basis,
mm,
where they are given maize flour, they receive beans, they receive oil. So yeah, you find that even though the food that they receive on a monthly basis is not enough to meet the household um,
needs.
food ration,
Okay.
but at some point they are limited, and to that. So to me, I would say that cities are much better than the settlements.
Okay. So in a urban area, um, uh, can you find jobs?
In urban area, so it is unfortunate that jobs are scarce in Uganda,
Mm-hmm.
because even the local community, they are also struggling to get employment. Uganda has a youthful nation, I think, across Africa, and the majority of these young people are unemployed, simply
Okay.
because there are no job available for them. Uh, but when it comes to, creative employment as personal job creation, then there is really a very big room for that. As long as you, even if you are a refugee, if you have startup capital, you can actually do anything you want here in Uganda. You can create your own employment opportunities. You can employ as many young people as you want, as long as your company
Mm.
is able to meet their monthly incentive or salaries. So you are able to create your own employment opportunity, and you are not looked at as a foreigner, that you cannot do this simply because you are a refugee. So if you just have capacity, you have finances, you have all the required resources, you can actually create your own employment opportunities
Okay. And
and to other young people.
oh, that's good. The you said earlier that some for some families they cannot they are not afford uh, uh, to send their kids to school, and they have to stay at home. Uh, do you know how many? Uh, what's the percentage of children that they have to stay home?
So as I said earlier, I think UNHCR has the number of the refugees that are staying home. We should be able to get such kind of percentage. But maybe what I can say at the moment is that we have categories also of the children that stay at home. Um, we have a category of those that are between the age of 5 to 12,
Mm-hmm.
meaning these ones either were born here or probably they came when they were very young.
Mm.
And then it so happened that parents failed to send them to school. So they are always staying home. Then we have those from the age of 13 and 17. Now, the majority of these in this age bracket, they have a number of challenges that they are facing. One is the language barrier.
Mm.
You find that they come from their country of origin while speaking probably French, Arabic, or maybe Swahili and other languages that they speak in their country of origin.
Mm.
So while in Uganda, English is the language that is spoken in school
Okay.
and in various offices. So a child comes, if for instance he or she was in primary uh, 5 or 6, once coming here, they tend to push him back in primary 2
Okay.
or primary 1, and that also has increased the number of dropout
Okay.
because they feel like they are being pushed back to lower classes, yet they are supposed to sit in upper classes. So most of them opt to drop out simply because they feel like they cannot study with other young
Uh,
children when they feel like they're already grown up.
right.
um, the other thing that I've seen that is also too much is, for instance, the case of Congo, from secondary 1 to secondary 6, uh, one can go through direct and you study until you get your high school living certificate. So in Uganda as well, we have secondary one up to secondary six.
Mm-hmm.
But then in between, there is secondary four that is also considered here in Uganda. Once you're in secondary four, you are given, once you complete
Mm-hmm.
secondary four, you are given a certificate. However, in DRC, they don't give you a certificate. So if you come from Congo while you are in secondary four, or probably you've completed secondary four, you are supposed to start secondary five,
Mm-hmm.
you will not be admitted here in secondary five.
Right.
And if you insist, they will admit you in secondary five, but once in secondary six, you will face challenges to sit for the living certificate simply because you don't have a secondary four living certificate.
Mm.
So yeah, it also makes many of the young people in this category as well to drop out.
So what do they do then when they drop out?
Most of them, when they drop out, they are exposed to many issues such as drug abuse. If they don't get any probably job that could occupy them, if they are girls, they are exposed to um, prostitution and all that.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what's the unemployment rate in
In
Uganda?
Uganda, for the young people,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it is really high. 80 over 80 young people in
Uh,
Uganda.
you mean over 80%?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty high.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really high.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So
However, this percentage looks only on the formal employment, right? Like
right.
employment that provided probably by the government and all that.
Okay.
But you will find out that most of the young people are probably um, self-employed. They have their own businesses in most cases.
Okay. Okay. So if you are self-employed, so self-employed is still considered unemployment in when they count unemployment rate, right?
Yes, self-employment, it is considered as unemployment
Okay.
because at some point you find that yes, you say you are self-employed, but maybe you don't even receive something on a monthly basis. For instance, for the case of one youth one heart here, right?
Mm, mm,
I am self-employed, but if I don't have a running project, it is very difficult to get a monthly incentive.
mm,
So you find that yes, you are self-employed, you're doing um, probably a charity work like what we are doing,
right.
but you really don't receive. You are more like a volunteer, not really an employee.
Okay. Okay. And uh, now for the refugees living in the urban area, um, what's the biggest challenge, especially for the youth?
So refugee live in the urban area. The biggest challenge, of course, uh, is access to quality education.
Mm-hmm.
is really, really a very big challenge for them. Because what I've seen mostly, one always think to get a job. Maybe if you are below the age of 18, once you fail to continue with your studies. So the first priority is given to education, but then you find that there are no uh, opportunities for them to continue with their studies simply because their parents cannot provide for their tuition.
Right.
And the scholarship that are available, because there are few scholarships that are available, you find that in a year they can only take probably 5 or 10,
Right.
out of 500,000 refugees,
Mm,
living in the urban area. So it really becomes very, very challenging for them.
yeah.
And
Well,
then that forces them to end up being in various bad peer groups, such as if they are girls, you find that they are now um, doing prostitution for them to be able to provide for their families. If they are boys, they are used in different ways for them to be able to meet some of the family bills. So yeah, it really becomes very difficult for them to adjust.
mm, yeah. So, you in Uganda, do you have private schools?
Yeah, we do have private school and international schools as
Okay.
well.
And
Uh,
those are very expensive, right?
yes, international school are extremely expensive.
Okay.
They are extremely expensive, where you find that one student is paying probably 1,000 USDs per term.
Wow.
So that means in a year you have to pay 3,000 for your child, for just one single child. So you can imagine, if you really don't have a stable employment, you cannot meet such kind of school.
Yeah.
So there are other schools that private, local, really good, where if you can meet 200,000, 200 USDs per term,
Per term.
you,
Okay.
yes, you are really able to educate your children very well in one of the private school, where really they receive good and quality education.
I see. Uh, so, uh, do you know what's the percentage of uh, refugee children's they have no access to quality education?
I'm not really quite sure of the percentage, but maybe after this I can be able to research that, and I will give you the right figures.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of this, because I can easily get access
Right.
to such kind of information.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. And also, what is the average household income in Uganda?
The average household income in Uganda is very low. It's below it's below $5.
Uh, Below $5 per day?
Yes,
Oh, so that means 100 below $150 per month.
yes,
Okay.
yes. It's
And
it's really, really low.
so yeah. So and really make and they have to pay rent, I assume, right, of this income.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really the challenge, and that's why here there are a lot of evictions.
Oh,
You
eviction.
know,
Okay.
from yes, from the houses, because you find if you've spent 5 to 9 months without paying rent, landlord actually some of them do evict you once you have 3 month arrears
Okay.
without paying. So you find that they are really being evicted. Like for instance, during and the refugees are mostly the ones that are really affected in this,
Yeah.
because what one thing that has really kept refugees to look more like they're sustainable. Those who live in urban, based mostly in Kampala, some of them do have their family members who have been resettled either in US
Oh, okay.
or in Europe. And now the family members who have been resettled in these countries pledges to continue paying for their rent as long as they still here as refugees.
I see.
So yeah, that has really helped most of them to look more like they are sustainable, simply because there is somebody
Okay,
supporting
from
a roof
somewhere. Okay,
over their head. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, and
but it's really really difficult.
yeah. So how difficult for the refugees to go to, say, um, go to United States or Europe?
It is really, really difficult because you cannot tell, you cannot determine, so you don't have control over these things. So
So, so
what happened?
is that a lottery system they use?
No, it's not a lottery system. So what happens is that the country like Europe and America, Australia and New Zealand, because these are the countries that resettle refugees.
Right.
At the beginning of every year, they show interest, right, to UNHCR. They
Uh-huh.
show interest to UNHCR, telling them that this year we will want to take such number of refugees,
Okay.
refugees who fall in this category. So they come with their own criteria. And then they tell the UNHCR, identify for us these refugees,
Mm-hmm.
and then you recommend them to our immigration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then UNHCR does a job of identifying these refugees, screening them, make sure that they meet the criteria of any particular country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that has made some of these Venezuelan officials to be also more corrupt, because there are few refugees who can actually raise some money,
Oh,
or probably they can get some money from their relatives.
okay.
So now what happens here is once they know that they are an opportunity somewhere and probably has 2 or 3 thousand USDs, finds that corrupted officer who is working in such cases
Mm.
and gives him either 2,000 or 3,000 USDs, and then
Wow.
that particular refugee is prioritized over others,
I see.
and then you get resettlement. So this really becomes very very much competitive, but also the other criteria that they look at also vulnerability of the families. Some countries do consider taking refugees that are sick, that have either chronic diseases,
Okay.
probably simply because they believe that in their country they have health system that are good, that I probably will take care of them and treat them probably. And you find that some of those are given priorities. They also look at a number of threats that you are receiving in a hosting country.
Oh, okay.
If you were being threatened to death, you've gone through a lot of very difficult time that you can actually prove. There also you are likely to be considered for resettlement.
Mm-hmm.
So during Obama administration,
Mm-hmm.
America was giving priorities to Congolese refugees
Mm-hmm.
who have been in Uganda for the last 10 years.
Okay.
And you know that Obama's administration was taking very many refugees. It was actually taking 125,000 refugees per year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so yeah, a number of them really went during his administration. Unfortunately, when Trump came in, when we were also already being processed,
Mm,
because I had also gone through the first two interviews,
mm,
because I was also in this category. Unfortunately, during Trump's administration, this program was cut off.
okay.
So yes, a number of them were again were affected. Though this one, the criteria for this one was if you just been there for very long time, you've been a refugee for more than 10 years, so you were qualified to be resettled in the US.
Mm, okay. So, how how long you have been uh in Uganda as a refugee?
The last 12 years now.
12 years. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, what's do you know what's the average number of years people are in Uganda as a refugee?
Oh, it is really horrible because we have those that have been here for the last 25 years.
Oh, wow. Mm,
So, yeah, there are not many, but yeah, a number of them are really
right.
still around. Now, those who are in my range group,
Mm-hmm.
they are really, really many. So,
Okay.
they are very many.
So
Yeah.
many of the refugees had been there for about 12 years.
Yes, over yes.
Yeah, over 12 years. And can you become a Uganda citizen?
That's a challenge with this country. This country has an open door policy where they welcome refugees from all over the world,
Yeah.
but they don't give nationalities to refugees.
Oh, really? So you,
So integration, local integration,
mhm.
UNHCR, there are three durable solutions, right? There is local integration in the country of asylum.
Mhm.
There is repatriation. You were repatriated back in your country of origin,
Okay.
and then resettlement.
Okay.
So these two durable solutions seem to be difficult and not working because, as you know, the situation of very many countries that produce refugees, instead of promoting peace, it is always conflict and
Right, right.
conflict and
Yeah.
conflict. So
Okay.
you find that those refugees that fled 10 years, 20 years back, they cannot still go back to their country of origin because the situation there
Right.
still
Still pretty
very
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we have local integration, where you are given an opportunity to be integrated locally in the country of asylum. But for the case of Uganda, local integration does not apply for any refugee.
So,
So
and as refugees, are you treated different? Are you treated differently from citizens in terms of education?
definitely yes, because you know, as I said, in terms of education, of course, they are scholarships
Okay.
that are available only for nationals.
Oh, for the citizens.
And
Okay.
yes, and if you are a refugee, so you cannot, you don't qualify for it simply
Mm,
because you are refugees.
right.
Secondly, is that you find that there are some schools that you cannot go to simply because your parents can't meet some of
Right.
those costs.
Right. Cannot. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's that the difference is really there and pretty big.
Hmm. And okay. So I'm kind of my last question is can you start a private school in Uganda?
Yeah, as I said early, that's the only beauty, I think, under the Refugee Act 2006.
Uh-huh.
There is a provision for refugees to associate into association. So you can create your own organization, and as long as you have an entrepreneurship mindset,
Mm-hmm.
you can create anything as long as you have capability and the finances required for you to do so.
Oh,
And
that's
no one will come and question you, why are you doing this, yet you are a refugee, right?
okay.
Yeah, as long as you are law abounding
Right.
refugee, you meet all the requirements just like any other Ugandan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can start any kind of business here, and
And
as long as your business is apolitical, you're not doing politics.
right, right, right. So,
Yeah.
so you can start your own school, right?
Yes, it is possible because there are a number of refugee schools actually that
Oh, okay.
yes, that are within here. Like in Changwali, we have some of our colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
They are called Kobuas. Kobuas. They have a very nice school in Changwali,
Mm-hmm.
and is nationally recognized. But also, this school has gotten partnership with a number of universities across Africa,
Oh,
and
okay.
even US as well.
That's great.
So they do send students who graduate from their schools are given scholarship to go and study in the US, in Ghana, in South Africa.
Mm.
So yeah, and there are other two schools that I know that are led by refugees as well,
Okay.
that run the same education system like the one in DRC,
Mm.
meaning their program, they are running the same program like the one that is run in DRC.
Okay.
So yeah, it is possible to start your own school,
No,
even
that's
if you are a
great.
refugee.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Well, so thank you, Jerry, for the interview, and also thank you for your work with the refugees there.
Thank you very much too for your support, and I really, really appreciate.
Yeah,
I always say that God is great and amazing because
amen.
He always make people meet.
Yep.
We've never met like physically, but a lot that you're doing already here is really creating a big impact on refugees here on the ground. And yeah, they are very happy, really. We all happy having
Mm.
you among us.
Well, thank you. It's I'm blessed to be able to work with you and to help the refugee youth.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. I'll see you next time. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, let's meet next time.
Okay.
And have a great day.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.